If you know someone who would be an incredible guest for the show, so I'd love to hear about them. Just click the link below, and thank you all so much for being a part of this journey. I really appreciate you guys.
Your clients see more value in you than you see yourself.
Welcome to another fantastic episode of Purpose-Driven Progress. As always, I'm your host, Jacob Hicks, and today I got to tell you guys, we've really got a home run of a guest coming on today. I'm bringing on John Ray. He is a value pricing and business development specialist who advises services professionals who sell their expertise. His clients include consultants, coaches, attorneys, accountants, and business advisors. John is also a podcast host and strategist who counsels clients on using a podcast for successful business development. John, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, Jacob. Thanks so much for having me. I've been looking forward to our discussion, and it's always great to be with you.
Yeah, man, it's, I got to tell you, because I was on your show, yesterday. It's really, really great to, find some folks like yourself to collaborate with, but I really want to dive into you a little bit more than we have been so far. So tell me, how does one become a value pricing and business development specialist? What's your journey? How did you get to where you are?
Well, you fall on your face with pricing first.
I think we've all done that a time or two.
Right. You fall on your face enough, bloody your nose, and you get frustrated, and you decide you've got to do something about it. That's really what it amounted to. I'm a mentor in a entrepreneurs group, so an up-and-coming entrepreneurs group. And one of the books they passed out was that Small Business for Dummies book.
Okay.
Not crazy about the name, but okay, let's go with it. But it's a pretty decent book. It's 250 pages, lots of great information in it. Out of those 250 pages, there are four and a half pages that touch on pricing. So
seems a little low.
This is a metaphor for what we deal with as business owners. We learn all sorts of things about marketing. We can pick that up in a heartbeat.
Yep.
We learn about our back office processes, how to get things done more efficiently, and what have you. There are a lot of things that we can pick up on our own. Pricing is one of those things one of those subject and issues that we just don't have a lot of ways to get educated about. And that's what frustrated me when I had issues and when I saw my clients having issues. So that's what made me passionate about it. And to dive in and to learn more, do the work, see where I was not on the right track, where I was blooding my nose,
Yeah.
and of course where I saw it in clients as well. And so that's what has made me passionate about this work and ultimately led to writing my book.
I love it. Well, and just while you were talking, it really to me, it kind of sounds like, kind of feels like it's like a similar discussion to like how I feel like how some people will talk about like personal finance, where they're like, oh, I never, you never hear about it. I never learned about it in school. I never learned about it in high school or whatever else. And I'm like, at least for me personally, I really believe that personal finance is kind of the foundation for any wealth building, regardless of how much money you might or might not make. And I think it's a topic, it's something that you have to pursue on your own. You just have to go out and figure out something that will work for you and how you like to run your life, right? Yeah. Is it fair to say that pricing is kind of in a similar boat?
I hadn't really thought of that analogy before, but that's a beautiful analogy. You're exactly right. How they don't even teach you how to balance a checkbook in high school, right?
Yep.
But and it's the same way with, and that's basic. That kind of thing is basic. As you say, pricing is the fastest way to either destroy or to augment, improve your bottom line. Now, this is an accounting fact. This is not my opinion.
Yep.
So your pricing decisions are arguably the most important decisions you will make.
Yeah.
Yet we're not equipped, particularly as sellers of expertise, whether if we're coaches, consultants, attorneys, fractional executives, what have you, and we're selling what's between our ears, we're just not equipped when we come out of corporate or wherever we've come from to price our services adequately. And invariably, we don't price them well enough, high enough.
Yeah. Well, and I think I'm curious because, as you know, I come from a sales background. And for somebody who doesn't come from a sales background, who isn't comfortable maybe presenting a pricing sheet or, a proposal or whatever whatever the case might be. I mean, sometimes saying like, "Hey, my services are, $2,000, my $5,000, whatever," like that can be kind of a nerve-wracking thing. Do you feel like it's more like fear driving people drive to push their prices lower, or is it some other factor?
Well, it's certainly fear.
Mm.
So it's fear of a lot of things. It's fear of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
When you push that proposal across the table, is there any more fearful moment than that, right?
Yes.
uh, when you are, even when you're thinking about how to price something, you're in fear of rejection,
Mm.
and and so there's a number of fear-based emotions that are going on here. But I think some of it is simply ignorance
Mm.
and not knowing what you don't know.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we will get into deciding, particularly if we're in the custom business of dispensing our knowledge, whether we're a consultant or a coach like you or what have you, and we're trying to come up with that proposal. We get into it and we realize there's some holes in our knowledge
Yeah.
about this client that maybe we haven't had the great discussion we thought we had with that client, and we don't know how to address some of the needs that that client has.
Yeah.
That's part of the problem as well.
Interesting. Well, and again, because I feel like you and I are kind of, two sides of the same coin, right? Where like you're talking about
Yeah.
pricing a lot, and I talk about sales a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And like they're very much hand in hand, right? Like I can't do my job without you, and you maybe can't do your job without me, right?
Right.
So I'm really curious, 'cause I want to kind of take this step by step, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
So for anybody out there listening that maybe is, maybe like they're an up and coming coach, or maybe they are some of these other folks like attorneys or accountants that are, again, selling essentially what's between their ears, right?
Right.
If they're just kind of getting started, either maybe they're on their own or maybe they're trying to start a firm or whatever the case might be. I mean, how do you start? How do you start like just pricing some of these things?
Well, first of all, you've got to start with giving yourself grace, because this is a journey. It's why I call my podcast the Price and Value Journey.
Yep.
It is a journey, and you will never get it exactly right. Here's why: because you can't cut off the top of someone's head, look down into their brain, and know exactly how they value things.
Yep.
You've got to rely on your ability to question, to have a great value conversation, and for that client to share with you. And that's a talent that you develop. Some people call that sales. And you do a good job of explaining, let's not necessarily call it sales. Let's just call it serving the client, right?
Yeah.
Let's call it getting to know the client and their needs, hopes, wants, desires, fears. And if we can solve them, great. If we can't solve them, we're going to find somebody that will. And having that mindset of generosity first and approaching people that way gets you a lot further than simply going at it trying to sell.
Yes.
In the slick version of what that term means for some folks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me personally, I think of it as like consulting somebody, right? Like you're coming with a lot of curiosity, trying to understand like, okay, why does this person feel like they might need my accounting services or, want to hire me as a lawyer or whatever the case might be, and really trying to understand. I mean, again, sales terms, again, to use the S word, right?
Right.
Again, in sales terms, we talk about like coming from curiosity, and like I've seen metrics that say we need to ask at least 12 questions in order to find roughly 4 pain points. Then once we hit those pain points and get to that quantity, typically, then we can start, talking about having some business conversations because we know the client well enough. I mean, I guess the next question I would have is, because I feel like I would have to imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, that a lot of your work is on kind of like the two things, like helping somebody to find that price point of where they should be, but then also I would think helping them get maybe comfortable with it, because I would imagine a lot of the time you're probably telling them, listen, you're not worth 2 grand, you're worth 4. So we need to talk about
Mm.
that. So, I mean, how do you help somebody get more comfortable with increasing their rates?
Well, first of all, what I try to get people comfortable with is not necessarily helping them set a particular rate,
Mm,
but asking the questions that they need to ask to get to where clients see value.
yeah.
And see, this is the big, you might call it the big, hairy, audacious idea that I have in my book. It's really about your clients see more value in you than you see yourself.
Mm-hmm.
They see solutions and issues and obstacles in their life that you're going to fix because of the transformational work you do. And so it's important, therefore, to have a great value conversation. You mentioned 12 questions. I think that's terrific. And of course, it's important to make sure it's 12 questions that, and it doesn't have to be 12. Of course, it's
Yeah.
a little different for every conversation and every person, but it needs to be something that gets at what's the value of the transformation that you're going to bring to the table as perceived by that client. So, in other words, if I can use you as an
Yeah,
example,
please.
yeah. So if I'm hiring you as my sales coach, then that's going to mean something for me in terms of the, of course, amount of sales that I have in my business. But what do those additional sales do for me? That's additional cash flow. What does that additional cash flow do for me? I may be able to hire that person I've been wanting to hire for years, right? And if I'm able to do that, then what happens? Oh, well, my business grows even more. What does that do for me at home? Well, I may be able to spend more time with my family than I have been before. You see, the thing about it is clients think about these things, and we don't unless we ask the questions.
Yep.
And when you start asking those kind of questions, you get to what a value that's much, much greater than just, in your case, how much sales went up because of your service.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Well, I'm a
Yeah.
big believer, and I couldn't tell you when I had quote unquote figured this out or have the revelation or whatever, but at some point in my life, I realized that it seems to me most things cost either time or money, and you just kind
Right.
of have to choose which resources you want to, you want to spend on it. And for me, like at least in my, I would imagine it might be similar to you, is like where like folks like you and I have a lot of value to people is helping them to, I mean, essentially shrink the runway, right?
Mm.
Like, I mean, sure, like people could, like you said before, they could go out and fall on their face a bunch with like pricing themselves and figuring stuff out. They could go out and learn those lessons, and that could take months or years, probably more likely. Or they could, just talk to somebody like you and say, hey, like here's the struggles that I'm having. Here's where I want to meet, where I ultimately want to be in my business. And then you having, again, those questions and those conversations, I think is I mean, really, really important and easy to overlook, I think.
Yeah, and when you have those conversations and when you get an idea of where a client sees value, I mean, it suddenly if you see that the value is a pretty big number.
Mm,
I mean, and in fact, it gets to a point where it's priceless.
mm,
What is more time with your family worth to you?
yep.
It's priceless. So when you get to that point with a client, then two things happen. The client has a greater need in their mind to make this happen and to make this happen with you and to get moving, and their willingness to pay goes up.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, you have a lot more confidence in your value.
Yes.
And you can lean into that. And that's why I say it just changes your business dramatically if you forget about what your own mindsets are that hold you back and lean into where clients see value. And if you do that, it will change your life. I mean, much less your business.
Yeah, well, 100%. I mean, I mean, we talked about, mindset quite a bit on your podcast. I want to get into
That's
a little
right.
bit too, but because I'm a big believer, like I really believe that, and I was thinking about it even like this morning after, we did our recording,
Mm-hmm.
that mindset shifts, like they're not necessarily, like sometimes they can be, as you know, like they can be just like an aha moment where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't think about that before. and you're just off and running going to the races, right? But I feel
Right.
like that definitely happens, but I feel like more often sometimes it can be just like these subtle shifts, like these small like 1 or 0.1% increments that build up over time that ultimately again lead to a larger shift that, in 6 months you are in a whole different plane just from those small incremental steps. Have you found that to be the case?
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm.
And it will, if you keep leaning into client perceived value, that you'll go to a better place with your mindset. And these mindsets, I mean, let's talk about some of them, right? Because and name them, because these uh, boogeymen in our lives need to be named in
Yep.
order to get them out of
Yep.
our heads.
Yep.
I mean, the mindset of inadequacy.
Mm.
I'm just not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
The imposter syndrome.
Yep.
That's a big one for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
The mindset of helping. Uh, that's I'm just here to help everyone. Well, no, you're not. You're here to help a lot of people, but a specific niche of people.
Mm-hmm.
Those are your best fit clients. These mindsets that hold us back, uh, they're all inward looking.
Mm.
And if we can just simply focus on others, get in their heads, see what their needs, hopes, wants, and desires are, what we'll find is that's just the best place to lean to get rid of these mindsets that hold us back.
I love that. I love that. Well, I'm a big believer in future visioning. Like I do
Mm-hmm.
this with, I can't remember if we talked about it on your show or not, but
Mm-hmm.
um, with all of my clients, I always like kind of the first thing we have them do is I have them do what it's called the interview. It's just like a process where we kind of picture yourself 5 years from now, and they answer a series of questions, not like what is your business doing? There is some of that, but like what does your ideal day look like? Like what does your house look like? And like actually walk me through it. And I've realized like in doing this, several different times and several iterations that like most people, like their vision is, kind of just right here. It's like right in front of their face, which I think you do need to be focused on the immediate task at hand, right? Like that is
Yeah,
important,
sure.
but you need to take time to again put yourself out in 5 years and see where it is that you really want to go and why you want to get there. And I feel like we just overlook it sometimes, and I think that can play a large part in getting us past some of these like the imposter syndrome and the anxiety and the self-doubt and everything else. Like that can play a huge role in getting us past it, I think. How do you feel about some of those things?
No, I agree.
Hmm.
I agree. And, I like what you have to say about uh, affirmations,
Mm.
about, you know, uh, that's one. And where can you get some of those affirmations? Well, you get them in testimonials that clients have given you.
Mm.
You get them, and this is one reason you ask for testimonials. It's not just a marketing thing. It's able to go back when you've had a really crappy day. You were
Yep.
talking on my podcast about a really particularly bad sales
Yeah.
experience you
Yep, I had a
had.
bad day.
Yeah. That would have been a good day for you to go read those testimonials of what a great guy Jacob is, right?
Yep.
And so you take those for your own self and how you can improve and lean into those during bad times.
Hmm.
Uh, so you talk about affirmations. I love that. I love the idea of visioning.
Mm.
And some of that is visioning alongside the client.
Yes.
So it's certainly looking at what your life's going to look like as you step into success, but it's also visioning alongside that client and what they vision as success.
Mm.
And sometimes clients need help with that. They need help seeing what success looks like for
Yeah.
them. And that's another reason why you have an extensive value conversation with as many questions as you're able to ask, as they'll let you ask.
Yeah. 100%. Well, I mean, it's like you were saying, like it's just so easy to overlook some of these things and to find the value. And I mean, what I've realized like in my own career, but then also in like a lot of like salespeople's careers, like it seems like at some point, a lot of us realize that, the almighty dollar, getting that next big commission check isn't as fulfilling as it used to be.
Right.
And establishing like an understanding that, really like where do I find value? And a lot of times like it shifts from going to work for 80 hours a week and getting all the money that I possibly can to, like you were saying before, is finding that balance back in life where I'm working a little more of a regular schedule and I'm spending a lot more time with my family. And ultimately that's what success looks like for me. Like I want to, maybe take a step back from the business here in 5 years and like hardly, maybe I go in, 1 or 2 days a week. Have you seen a lot of shifts like that in your own career, in your own life?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is like you're singing my song, man. I love this because because here's the magic. The magic is if you can get your pricing right. I've seen a lot of clients of mine where they're cutting down the number of clients but making more money.
Yep.
And so that's the golden ring that a lot of people can get to if they start pricing adequately. If they start following this methodology, they can get to a point where they're not working too hard for too little money anymore. They're actually working less with a fewer number of clients and actually bringing more to the bottom line and having more time to do the things that they want to do outside of that business.
Yeah, which I mean, it's like you said, it's the golden ring. It's like, it's where, at least, I mean, in my life, like that's where I feel like a lot of people would like to get to where, you work, maybe you're working, 20 hours a week or whatever it kind of looks like, but it's very, in my mind, it'd be very, very intentional hours, right? Like you're not wasting time really. Like you're not just like looking at social media stuff or whatever, but you're actually spending time with the clients that know you and have known you, hopefully for, maybe years at a time. And are doing a lot of like very, very high quality, very niche, very specific work. One question I want to ask you though, being the pricing expert that you are, is in the services world, at what point does, an entrepreneur or a business owner need to consider like, not necessarily like in like the early days where like maybe like that fear is having some issues with them, but like, hey, like I'm getting really busy. Do I need to start increasing my prices because the demand is getting so high? Or like at what point do I need to start having that kind of a conversation?
Well, generally you need, I know this will probably be a surprise. I think you need to start having it as soon as you sign up a client.
Love it.
And here's why. Because if you are the professional that you are, that you say you are with clients, not just you, me, anybody, then you're going to add more value than what you promised.
Yep.
And you know that as the professional you are. So the idea is that the value that client is going to receive is going to be a whole lot more than they thought.
Yes. Yep.
And that's going to give you room to raise the price. Now, everyone's got a different engagement type. I mean, there are some folks that have businesses where their engagements are one and done, and I get that. But then there's some that are coaches, let's say, or consultants, and maybe they have kind of an ongoing relationship or something like that. Maybe they're doing marketing for a particular client and they have an ongoing relationship. And the point is that client's able to see results during that engagement. And so you're opening the door to higher prices as you get into the engagement.
Yeah.
So I would be thinking about that as soon as I sign the client. But here's the reality, Jacob. We're talking about the ideal. Let's talk about the reality.
Yeah.
The reality is most people that I run into have never raised their prices. If they've been in business for, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, they have never raised their prices. And I had one guy tell me he'd been in business for like 7 years, and he said, it's a point of pride with me. I have told my clients that I will never raise their prices. And I'm like, that is the silliest thing I've ever heard. And with all due respect, I mean, you're a fantastic professional, but your costs go up. At a minimum, you've got to think about that. But I know the work you do, and you provide much more value than what you take in price. And you deliver much more than you promise. So at a certain point, you really need to raise your price.
100%. Well, and I think too, I mean, like just using that example that you just gave, regardless of industry or niche or whatever else you might be focusing on, if you've been in business, if you've been in business for 7 years, that's a huge milestone, right? Like that's fantastic. A lot of businesses struggle, right? And
Right.
you can't go that long. But if you've been in business for 7 years, I mean, the amount of value and the quality of the work, I would have to imagine, has gone up significantly in those 7 years. And the fact that, I mean, I understand like the point of pride, you know, I've never raised my rates. I get it, but I mean, you never raise your rates, but you know, your profit margin goes like this. And
Right.
I mean, you got to pay bills sometime, right? Like nobody, like life isn't getting any cheaper. So, I mean, I totally get where you're coming from. I absolutely love what you have to say. One thing you mentioned earlier that I want to get into a little bit more is gratitude and
Mm,
generosity.
mm.
Because I mean, I'm a huge believer in both. I think personally, I think that those are kind of, maybe they're gaining some momentum nowadays, but I mean, I feel like for a long time in the business world, they've been kind of overlooked or just kind of sleeper tools where we don't want to give away the farm, right? And I mean, I just feel like it's so easy to overlook. Have you found that to be the case?
Oh yeah,
Mm,
and when I talk about generosity, let me make myself very clear.
yeah.
I'm not talking about giving things away.
Mm,
Um, Generosity's got that's the wrong definition of generosity. In my way of thinking, generosity is about getting to thinking of the needs and concerns and wants and goals and fears of
mm,
others first
mm-hmm.
and addressing them regardless of whether that benefits you in the short run or not. That's
Mm.
generosity. And some people call that a term you use, relationship marketing. I mean,
Yep.
you know,
I've thrown that around.
yeah, that's just another way to say I believe in relationships, and I believe that relationships drive revenue.
Mm,
And folks, if you're in the professional services world, you are there to what? Serve.
mm,
It's the root word of what you do. You're there to serve. And so that's really what we're talking about. And if you have a reputation in your region, in your industry, wherever you sit, if you have a reputation of generosity,
mm.
if you have a reputation of putting others first, it will come back for you.
Yes.
And you will be seen as a professional of value, and you will be at the center of that tribe and get revenue from that tribe simply because of that reputation.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen that in my own life. Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
just show up with integrity and generosity, like you said, and I mean, eventually it will come back to you.
Yes.
One thing I'm really curious about that I want to get your opinion on,
Mm-hmm.
because we both have talked about relationships, you know, quite a bit on our different shows and things. I'm a really really big believer in relationship, like you said, relationship drives revenue. I love that. I'm probably going to steal that phrase, just so you know. Um, but in the last few years, particularly in my sales career, I've been reflecting a lot more because I feel like relationships is thrown around a lot in business, and as it should be, right? Like it's really really
Mm-hmm.
important. But I've been reflecting after reading a sales book a while back called The Challenger Sale, where essentially they said that yeah, relationships are important, but the salespeople that do the best are the people that have good relationships to the point where they are willing to push back on somebody, saying like, "Hey, Mr. Customer, I don't think this is the best, you know, the best option for you," or "Hey, Mr. Customer, you know, based on what you've told me, I think you should do this, you know, more expensive option." And being willing to push back on people like that, and I think, at least in reflecting in my own life, my own work, I've realized that those are the highest quality relationships, in my opinion. The relationships where you are personal enough with somebody that you can have a more difficult conversation with them. Would you agree
Mm-hmm.
with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. And there's a place for that with every customer,
Mm,
every client.
yep.
Um, I mean, some you go deeper than others
Yeah.
depending on the relationship, the nature of the relationship, the length of it, and
Mm,
so forth. But I think there's a place with every client to say, hey, here are the three options that I've got, for example. Here are the three options, you know, kind of a good, better, best model.
mm.
Um, you're free to pick whichever one you want. I think you're wasting your money if you pick the best.
Yeah.
And
I love
that's the
that.
one that would benefit me the most, of course, you
Yep.
know, that best option at the highest price. Um, and if you say that, you're a person of integrity.
Mm-hmm.
particularly if you've got a really good logical reason why that's true. Um, and vice versa. You can say to someone, hey, you can go for that lower option, but I don't even know whether I want to sell it to you because I don't even think it's going to give you the results you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's being a professional of value.
Yeah.
And that's not a way or a mindset that you have to bring just to your most valuable relationships.
No.
You can bring that mindset everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I mean, essentially, I mean, treating everybody the same. Like
Yeah.
one of the early lessons I learned in my sales career is that you don't want to spend your client's money for them, right? Like you don't want to
Right.
assume that somebody would, because of whatever indicator you feel like you've gotten, would probably rather buy this than that, or probably wouldn't buy anything at all. Like never assume that, but I could just come with that honesty and that integrity, like you just said. And I mean, again, it'll all come back around to you eventually in the long run, I believe. Well, John, thank you so much for having us on the show, or coming on my show.
Absolutely.
It's been really fantastic. I know you've dropped a ton of gold nuggets for anybody listening out there that might be wondering about pricing and all of this kind of fun and funky stuff that you and I talk about all the time.
That's right.
But if anybody out there is listening that maybe either wants to learn more about you, maybe they want to get some pricing help, or like I know you got a book out there and your podcast. So where can they find you?
Yeah, again, Jacob, thanks. This has been a lot of fun. The only problem with this conversation is it's too short.
Yep.
I mean, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much. So yeah, for folks that want to connect with me, my email, we'll start with that, john@johnray.co. That's JOHNRAY.co. That's my website, johnray.co. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always posting items of note that relate to pricing, business development, that kind of thing on LinkedIn. I'm John Ray 1 on LinkedIn. My book is called The Generosity Mindset, A Journey to Business Success by Raising Your Confidence, Value, and Prices. It all kind of works in that order.
Yep.
So you can get that book where all fine books are sold, as the old saying goes. The big Amazon behemoth, but also at your local bookstore. They'll be glad to order it if they don't have it in stock.
I love it. Well, I'll make sure to include all of that great information in the show notes so people can find you just as easy as possible. But John, thank you again so much for coming on. This has been fantastic.
Thank you so much, Jacob. I really appreciate you, and congratulations on the great work you're doing.
Thank you so much. We're doing it one step at a time, one day at a time. But yeah, John, thank you again. Again, I'll include everything in the show notes. And anybody out there listening, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.